Hi, I'm Jennifer Bardot, and I'm your host today as we will be talking about GRIT. And what does GRIT stand for? Growth, Resilience, Intention, Tenacity, which leads me to inviting you to meet my first guest, Cindy, who's going to be a contributing author in Tenacity. So, Cindy, who is Cindy for those that do not know who you are?
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to sit with you today. Always a pleasure. And for the audience, no, there is not bourbon in our coffee cups, even though I have some in my purse. Kidding. My name is Cindy Mebruer, as Jennifer has just alluded to, and currently I am the Director of Engagement, Education, and Sustainability for the Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals, which is a mouthful, and anybody who works in supply chain knows that we really love acronyms. But I've been in this role like this for about 12 years now. I started by helping to relaunch the Boeing Center for Technology, Information, and Manufacturing with Washington University. Then I helped them launch their Center for Customer Analytics and Big Data. Then I moved to SLU and helped them relaunch their Center for Supply Chain Excellence, helped them celebrate 50 years with their founding director, 20 years of that center, held a gala, grew a scholarship. And next thing you know, the Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals is saying to me, we've got a brand new center. We'd really like you to come over and run it. And the difference this time is the Center for the Advancement of Talent and Training is their 501c3. And what they'd really like to do is to bring supply chain training to populations who are perhaps overlooked, underserved, but with an untapped potential of talent. And some of the opportunities that I'm looking to create are things that I've actually been wanting to do for a really long time. I just didn't know it. So, for example, we are working with St. Louis Public School District for them to launch their first 3-year program in supply chain, starting with sophomores. And by the time they graduate high school, they will have a certificate from the CSCMP and potentially a job. We are looking to do this also with other 501c3s like Prison to Pro or the PD Green organization or even Rung for Women, organizations who are also looking to help potential populations with all of this talent who need perhaps a second chance or a leg up. Not a handout, but just another opportunity. So I'm really excited about that. What this has also done for me is just to remind myself that for a long time, there are things that I've wanted to do on the side in this space. I just didn't know it. There are a couple of other things that have led me to this, and I'll leave the teaser out there for just a second. But I'm also on the board of directors for BCI, which is an organization that helps adults with special needs in training, in finding jobs. But also, BCI is a manufacturing, a packaging, and an assembly plant. So they actually employ a number of adults with special needs and have been rewarded and given accolades for the quality of service, the type of training, the type of job opportunities that they create. This is not a sweatshop. And if anybody out there would like to go tour, I'd be happy to take you there because you will fall in love with everyone there and want to give everything you can. So before that, I was also working for Special School District in a behavior mod program with teens and their families, helping their families help their teens create the right environment to be successful in school and to go on and being successful in their jobs. So all of this is to say is it's kind of led me to this place where I have some ideas of ways that I think I could do that for women who have been, again, overlooked, maybe have been disadvantaged either from choices they've made, because let's face it, we've all been one poor choice away from getting into a little bit of trouble. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to succeed, to grow your career, to grow your life. So there's something I've been working on for a while. I know I've shared it with you, and I've actually started talking with some people about how to get that done. But I'm kind of jinxy about things like that. So until I can say something, I'm going to leave it there for now, but perhaps that'll be in my tenacious chapter. So that's a long-winded way to say where I am and who I am right now, but I think that kind of gets it in a nutshell.
Well, you piqued my curiosity, and I'm very excited for you, and I hope your next project does take place so you can share that in Tenacity. And I mean, your journey is outstanding. You're a woman in manufacturing, which is unique within itself, but you also have a servant leadership mindset, and you're constantly pouring into others. So where did this foundation and this servant leadership mindset come from?
That's I think there's a long history of that in our family. I will tell you that my mom and dad divorced when I was young. My brother and my mom moved in with my grandma, who actually, for those of you who know St. Louis County or know Crestwood and have heard of Ray Blue's Crestwood Bowl, she ran the bowling alley for as long as I can remember. She was actually on a team. She could bowl a 300. I never inherited that talent, but many of my other family members did. But I watched her run this place at a time when women weren't running things. And I also watched her take care of my grandfather, who unfortunately came back from World War II. He was in Navy, USS Ticonderoga, and with probably PTSD, but we didn't do anything about that. A few other problems that went with that. And she stood by, she took care of him, she took care of her daughters. It was just amazing to watch. But the whole time she did it with grace, she did it with charm, she did it with grit. And I always admired that and thought, as you get older, the obstacles she had to face to continue to do something like that and also be running this really successful business, it was just incredible. So to start with, I always thought, and truth be told, when I was little, I thought she actually owned the bowling alley. So there's that. And we always got to eat the crinkle fries out of the cafeteria there whenever I wanted. So I'm like, of course she's the owner. We get to eat for free. But I always thought, I want to run a business. So that started there because she did that until she retired. And then she worked at Missouri Botanical Garden and took care of roses because she had award-winning roses. I don't have that green thumb either. So it started there and then just kind of moved into different things. But my life took twists and turns. I ended up going back to school, back to college, ended up being the first generation person to have an associate's, a bachelor's and a master's. It took me 14 years to do all these things because I was raising my own kids. But that entire time, I kept thinking that I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be an educator. I loved working in special ed. And it was purely by accident that I fell into supply chain while I was working on my master's at WashU, because someone said I should go talk to this person who has this opening for a job. So I grabbed one of Yossi Sheffi's books, who's a top supply chain guy from MIT. I read it. I went in and I interviewed. I pitched myself. And they were like, sure, you're hired. And that was the first time I thought, I don't know anything about this. This is really fun. This is really great. So it was a bit of a rush to go in and sit and be hired for something that you have no training in, you didn't work in it, and then really immerse yourself in that. So in that space, in supply chain, you're looking at manufacturing, transportation, how do you move things from A to B, sourcing, finance. It is really the catch-all for running a business, getting a product out to market, moving a product or goods or services. So I didn't quite say to myself, this is going to be good training for down the road when I'd like to start my own business, but it really was good training for getting down the road and thinking I could really do this, because it's not something I ever thought I could do. So again, it's a little bit of a teaser, and but I'm excited for the next chapter.
Well, it's really inspiring, and it just kind of encompasses that you don't have to know all things. And I think that's one of the illusions that as women, when we're looking at the resume or the application, we have to do 100% of the expectations of that role, whereas men can just step in the role even though they know maybe 50% of the time. I mean, that's a perfect example of being tenacious and just taking it on, even though you knew that you didn't know everything, but you knew enough to be dangerous because you had the confidence to know that you could take on the world and learn the things that you didn't know. So that's really inspiring.
That's right. That's right. And, and to your point about women feeling that they have to know everything or check all the boxes before they can go in and get that job, I've been there. I've been that person. I listened to a guest speaker, and I'm going to forget her name at this time, but this is back when I was at WashU, and she talked about the running joke of there was a infant formula company who needed a salesperson, and a woman was going in and a man was going in, and he's like, well, I was a baby once. My mom fed me formula. I'm a candidate for the job. I'll be a great candidate. Whereas the woman was over here going, well, I'm not a chemist. I didn't make the formula. I don't know how to do the formula. And it's kind of that running joke that we need to do all things. But the other part of that is, and this is the dark side of perhaps this tenacity that we have, is saying yes to everything. And in that quest to know as much as possible, the power of yes and getting those rewards from that can be intoxicating. And it can be something where you continue to go, okay, especially if you're someone where people think, oh, this person is a really good fixer. We're struggling over here. We're losing revenue. Let's call Cindy. And Cindy comes over and goes, oh, well, that's a nice little raise. And oh, I do love a problem. So yes, I'll come over, to the point where you lose yourself in there. And if you're not careful, you set yourself up for failure, because some problems can't always be fixed in the way that you think you can. I was talking with a woman, Tamara Keefe. She's the CEO and founder of Clementine's Naughty and Nice Ice Cream. And we're going to do a panel discussion tomorrow. And she mentioned that power of no, and taking the time to just breathe and do what comes as the opposite of what you always want to do, which is to say yes, but to say thank you for the offer, but no. And I've come to believe that that word is perhaps more powerful than yes, because if you're not careful, yes can be exhausting. It can be draining. And the next thing you know, you're actually not being successful because you've done too much, you've taken on too much, or you finally said yes to the wrong thing, even though it was a promotion, even though there was more money, a better pay, or what have you. Sometimes saying no is the better way to go.
Absolutely. As a recovering people pleaser, I think that's something that we have to learn as women, is setting those boundaries, listening to ourselves, what fills our cup, what gives us joy, and what allows us to continue on our personal pursuit of whatever that means for us. So we can't just say yes to all things. We have to say yes to the things that fill us up. So I love that. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us before we wrap up?
Just to say, stay tuned, but most importantly, it's just to say thanks to you, Jennifer. This is something that I would never have done in my wildest dreams, but you are infectious, and everything that you're doing to help the rest of us kind of get over that, well, I'm a great backup dancer, and come and be the person on the stage. It's really incredible, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, I love having you here on the stage beside me, and I'm glad that you said yes. You're not a backup dancer. You're the keynote.
There we go. There we go. Right back at you, sister.
So thank you.